Pregame.com.
I'm Vegas Runner, here with Bryan Leonard. Going to break down Wisconsin at Ohio State. Huge Big Ten matchup. Ohio State was one of the best teams in the country earlier in the season. The best team in the country. Still mentioned in the top three, I think, right? Mm-hmm. But 23-5. Little disappointment. I think so. I mean, this is a team that many were thinking with a healthy Sullinger should be able to run the table. But not only are they not the number one team in the country, but they're behind Michigan State now in the Big Ten. They're not even the best in the Big Ten. Big game against Wisconsin. I made my line true power rating around 6.5, 7. You made it 8, and I agree with you. I think it should be higher. Ohio State's got extra time to prepare. We're taping on Thursday. Wisconsin is in Iowa tonight. Now they got to play Iowa on the road, then get up and go play Ohio State on the road, who's 18-1 at home. My lean's to Ohio State. As good of a defense as Wisconsin has, and it's tough to cover big numbers against a team that you're not expected to put much points up on the board. But I don't think Wisconsin's going to do too much offensively here. I think Ohio State's defense is just as good. What do you think?
You got your two top, number one and number two, defensive efficiencies in college basketball. There's not going to be a lot of points in this game, which is somewhat a concern when you're laying something
right
in this range. But you know, Ohio State can score inside. Wisconsin, I don't think it's a very good matchup for them. What Wisconsin does well is the strength of Ohio State. And so much comes down to the three-point shooting for Wisconsin. And when you play in a team that rebounds as well as Ohio State and plays defense as well as Ohio State, if you're not hitting from long range,
you're not getting second looks at it.
Yeah, and if you take a look at Wisconsin this year, when they've lost, some of the games have been really ugly.
Yeah.
They've got to be able to hit the shots to stay in these games. And Ohio State is so good defensively, playing on the road, even though Wisconsin traditionally has been a very good team on the road. In fact, I think they've won 4 of the last 8 here straight up. I just don't think this Wisconsin team this year is just quite as good as they've been in the past.
I agree. And, I mean, year in and year out, Wisconsin plays that same style. They're one of the slowest tempo teams in college basketball. Ohio State may not be a team that runs the court, but they do pick it up. I mean, you know, they're in the top 100 compared to ranked 300th and 45th in tempo like Wisconsin. So compared to Wisconsin, Ohio State's running up and down the court. Being at home, I think they could dictate the tempo. I think Wisconsin is going to have the trouble as far as tempo is concerned, trying to slow it down. If they find themselves behind, I just can't see how they're going to catch up. The thing about Ohio State is I think once they get into the tournament, I don't think this team's going to do as much damage as people expect them to. I mean, they're not a good three-point shooting team, and I think, you know, you got to have inside and outside game, because the further you go in that tournament, you're going to match up with some pretty big teams. And when you look at Ohio State, their size isn't that huge. I mean, they're 74th, according to Ken Pomeroy, in height. So you match them up against a team like Kentucky, they're not going to have an advantage inside. If they can't hit the three, this team just doesn't have the makings of a national championship team.
Yeah, it all depends on who they play. If it's a physical type of ball game, up and down game. And one of the reasons why I like Ohio State here is last time they played, they win 58-52 at Wisconsin. Wisconsin, a very tough home court. And that was a Wisconsin type of game. When you're only scoring 110 points, that's what Wisconsin wants. And Ohio State was still able to beat them.
Yeah.
So now they have to go on the road. They won't be able to dictate the pace as much as they did back home, which is more of an advantage for Ohio State.
I agree. Wisconsin has done okay on the road, 6-3 overall, 2-0 on neutral court. So that makes them 8-3 away from home. Pretty impressive. But over the last 4 games, they're only 2-2 straight up, and they're 1-5 against the spread in their last 6. When they played Ohio State, they lost. When they played Michigan State, they lost. That tells me they can't compete with the elite teams in the Big Ten or in all of college basketball. They'll be on the road. I like Ohio State. Bryan likes Ohio State. We say lay the points. Hopefully they bring this out around 7 or 8. We could make a little play on the Buckeyes. Going to be back covering more college basketball. NBA All-Star break is here, so it's all college hoops. We'll be right back.